Hey everyone, welcome to my review of Transformers EarthSpark Warrior Class Optimus Prime. Now, I need to be upfront with you here. It's been a very, very long time since I purchased a brand new Transformer toy and reviewed it. But I had to get a hold of this one because when I saw the very first pictures of it from Hasbro, I knew that this was a toy that I was going to absolutely love. So the moment I saw that it was available, I picked it up, and here it is. Now, before we actually get into the toy itself, I wanted to comment on the packaging. Why the packaging? Because if we look down here, this is the plastic-free packaging with a little bullet point there, except for the tape and glue, which I thought was kind of funny. But this is the first figure that I've ever purchased that does not include any plastic on it. I've seen a number of them in the stores from Hasbro at this point. I've seen Star Wars figures, I've seen, I believe, G.I. Joe figures, and I've seen some of the Transformer figures. But again, this is the first one I've ever picked up and purchased. And again, it does say plastic free with the exception of tape and glue. I don't know where the glue is, but there is tape in a couple of different spots here. So we have tape here, we've got tape over here. If I turn it around here to the back, we have, let's see here, where else have we got tape? We've got tape here, we've got tape down here, and then we've got tape up here, and tape there. Now there may be some tape and or glue on the inside, I don't know, but those are the only spots that I saw tape on the exterior of the package. As you can see here, the figure is held in here by these ties. They are also paper, so they're not, or some sort of paper, so they're not plastic or anything. And it looks like we've got two, which you can see here, and then we've got one, which you may or may not be able to see, but it's down here kind of holding the legs in place. I was curious about the instructions because, again, I have not purchased any sort of Transformer figure in a very long time, but I recall the instructions used to be included inside of a plastic sheet. If I'm looking back here, and again, I have not opened this yet, as you can see, but inside here, I can see the instructions are kind of down here and behind the figure. And it does not look like they are inside of any sort of plastic or anything. They're just inserted there inside the box. Now, the packaging itself here, it looks like it's one single piece of cardboard. If you look up here at the top, you can kind of see some hinges here on the cardboard. So the way this is designed, or the person that's designed this, I mean, this itself is a feat in engineering. Forget about the toy, just the packaging itself is quite the feat in engineering. But again, looking here at the toy now, one thing I wanted to mention right away is, in looking at Optimus Prime here in robot mode, because again, that's how it's packaged, one thing that stands out that's clearly missing on this figure is any sort of Autobot symbol on the shoulders there. If you look at the Prime figure here in the background in the packaging, you'll notice that there is a symbol up here, or an insignia up here on his right shoulder. And then if we look at, on the side of the packaging here, you'll notice he also has one here on his left shoulder. And then insignia there is this symbol here, which down at the very bottom of it is a small Autobot symbol. But you'll notice here on the toy itself, at least on this Warrior Class figure, we do not have an Autobot symbol anywhere on the toy. I'll get into that more as I start talking about the toy and actually get the thing out of the packaging here. But I just wanted to call that out right away. That seems like a glaring omission on the toy. But we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into the toy itself. So let's open this guy up and dig in. All right, before we get to the toy, I did want to comment on one more thing here about the packaging. So as you can see, I have the figure removed. I've cut all of the tape at the seams, and what I wanted to show you was just how flat this packaging gets. So if you happen to be a collector that likes to retain the packaging for a figure, unlike the previous figures where something like this would have been on a bubbled card, right? You've got to, if you want to retain the packaging and not ruin it, you've got to like slice around the edge of the bubble, and then you've got this big plastic bubble, and then you've got the flat card. Whereas something like this, again, all you've got to do is cut the tape at the seams. And on this particular box, what you do is just kind of fold this down. So you've got our tabs here, and you can take the entire inside and fold it out, And again, as you can see, it is one single piece of cardboard. So something like this would lay much flatter inside of like a plastic tub if that's where you happen to keep your Transformer figures and or packaging, as opposed to something like I said previously, which would have been a card and bubble. So I think this packaging is pretty cool. And just to kind of show you here, so once this is opened up and you pull this flap up, this is where the instructions would have been. So inside there, we do have the instruction sheet, and we do have this warning card, which is multilingual there, as you can see. And just to kind of show you the instruction sheet, let's open this guy up here. So this shows you the axe here. So he does have a battle axe, and we'll see that here as I talk about the figure. And then it shows you the transformation here into truck mode. So enough on the packaging, enough on the instructions. Let's dive into the toy. Okay, so here is our look at EarthSpark Warrior Class Optimus Prime in robot mode. Let's talk first about the color scheme. As you would expect, this being Optimus Prime, our primary colors here are red and blue, and the red and blue are where you would expect them to be. Upper body is mostly red, his head is obviously blue, and if we can zoom in a little bit here, or have me pull the figure in closer to the camera, he does have those lighter blue eyes that you see right there. They are not light piped, they're just painted, but you can see them right there. He also does have this sparkly, shiny blue here for the windshield, and then you can see the side windows here on the side of his chest. Now, obviously, for the blue, again, we've got blue on the head, we've got blue down here on the legs, we do have some blue over here on the right arm, which we'll talk about here in a second, and then he does have some silver down here on his legs. We spin him around, you can see the back side of the truck, which is up here on his back, and it fits together nicely. And then we've got gray kind of rounding out the colors here for the lower midsection and the upper portion of the legs there. And then his hands are also painted silver, which you can see there. Now, in terms of the blue and the gold that we see here on his right arm, so this is an axe, which we can fold out. So that just folds out. And then the axe actually splits open here. And due to the fantastic articulation on this figure, you can get some quite dynamic poses out of the figure itself. So the axe weapon looks really great with the figure. The figure does not include a gun, so keep that in mind. It does just include this axe, but I think the axe actually looks really good on the figure because, like I said, the articulation on this figure is really fantastic. So let's look at the articulation here. So his head can spin a full 360 degrees. He does have a full articulation up here at the shoulder. So as you just saw, 360 degrees there. He does have a ball joint here at his elbow, so you can bend it fully and you can also twist it and turn it there. He does have full 360 degree articulation here at the waist, and then up here at the legs. So the legs are on a ball joint, so they can move in and out as well as forward and backward. And then the knees here are also on a ball joint, so the lower leg can rotate a full 360 degrees as well as bend. For the feet themselves don't move, but the back half here, they do. So as you can see, let me fold that guy back in. They do fold out to provide extra stability for the figure, but you can also obviously bend those to get some really nice, unique poses out of this figure. So I'm going to set this figure aside here for just a second, and I want to bring in another Optimus Prime. So we have here, this is Deluxe Transformers Animated Optimus Prime, if I can get him to stand there. There we go. Now, the reason I brought this figure in is because the reason I actually like this figure is because it reminded me a lot of Transformers Animated Optimus Prime. How, you ask? Well, a lot of the design details or aesthetics from this figure, I think we actually find in this figure here. So if you look at the midsection here, it's styled very much the same. Colors are obviously different, but it's styled very much the same. The midsection here, very similar. The chest obviously being the windshield, again, designed differently. But to me, again, it reminded me very much of this figure. And then ultimately the head design on the EarthSpark Optimus Prime. He's got a very elongated head and face. In this particular instance, it's sort of back swooped, whereas not so much so on the animated figure, but he does have like another elongated face, which again reminded me very much of that figure when I was looking at this one. So I think, and then obviously the blue and yellow that we've got here for his axe. We do have the blue and yellow over here on Prime in both the lower midsection as well as on the head. So again, I think it borrows some detailing and design aesthetics from this figure. Obviously, it doesn't look identical, not made to look identical, not meant to look identical, but I do think that it borrows some things from the animated figure, and that's kind of what it reminded me of, and that's why I really like this particular figure. The one thing that I do wish this figure had that this one does is this Autobot symbol. So if we look here on the animated Optimus Prime, obviously he's got this silver painted Autobot symbol here on his left shoulder. Looking again here at the EarthSpark Optimus Prime, we have absolutely no Autobot symbol anywhere on the figure. Not on the shoulders, not out here on the front of the truck, which would have been his back here, not on the arms, nothing. So other than the fact that this looks like an Optimus Prime, right, there is no Autobot symbol anywhere. And I think, again, if we bring the packaging back here, on the packaging here, you can see that the figure, or the character here, has an Autobot symbol here on his shoulders. I think adding it here to the figure, regardless of whether it would have matched, you know, this symbol that we see up here, or just putting a straight Autobot symbol on there, would have immensely, you know, changed the overall look of the figure here in robot mode. I would have done so for the better, in my opinion. But that's not to say that I don't like the robot mode, because I think the robot mode on this figure is absolutely fantastic. Again, let me bring in Animated Prime again. So this is a deluxe, right? So deluxe animated Optimus Prime, and this is Warrior Class EarthSpark Optimus Prime. You can see the size difference. In addition to the size difference, there's also a quality difference. But despite that, I still think this is a fantastic figure. Again, you get a lot of articulation on this thing, and you can put it in all sorts of poses, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And again, I like the design aesthetic. I personally think, again, it borrows from animated Optimus Prime. Regardless of whether you see it or not, that's kind of what I see. And I think it really makes it a really nice figure. And even if we're looking down here at the legs, right, it also borrows from G1 Optimus Prime in terms of the design of the legs there. But overall, fantastic figure. If you purchase Transformer figures for display and you display them in their robot modes as opposed to their alt modes, this is a really, really great figure, and I would highly recommend purchasing it for that. So on that note, let's go ahead and transform this guy into truck mode. Okay, so we have Optimus Prime here in truck mode. Overall, a very simple transformation. If we look at the instructions here, it shows that it is a 14-step transformation. Fairly simple to do. It's not vastly different from most Optimus Prime figures. What I do have or see as a problem on my figure for a lot of the times that I'm transforming it is that the pieces up here don't seem to want to lock together all that great. There are some tabs back here. If you look kind of, it's at an angle here now. There are some tabs back here that are supposed to lock into the back portion, or what would be the legs in robot mode here. Sometimes that doesn't seem to want to lock into place, and then all of these pieces up here in the front don't seem to want to lock into place either. So it can be a little bit of a hassle, but when it works, it's obviously a truck. So again, here's Optimus Prime in truck mode. The wheels are cheap. They're plastic. They don't seem to always spin. I mean, if you're looking here, really this wheel here and this wheel here are sort of moving. The back one, not moving at all. We turn it around here to the other side. Really, maybe just the front one a slight tiny bit. Otherwise, those are also not moving unless I push down on the figure so that they're actually touching the ground. So this is obviously a semi-truck, as you would expect for Optimus Prime. Again, we have our red and blue, red for the cab, blue for the back portion there. We do see the axe from robot mode there on the side. They don't try to hide that at all. If we turn it over here to this side, there is a panel. So again, this would be his arm in robot mode. There is a panel that folds down here to kind of hide that fact and actually make it look like the side of a truck. But again, we don't get that over here on this side. This being a Warrior class, I'm not too concerned with that, with actually trying to hide that. I don't display figures in vehicle mode anyways, or their alt modes. I do like displaying them in robot mode when I do display them. So I'm not concerned about that. But again, overall, red in the front, blue in the back. We do have our silvery blue up here for the windshield and the side windows. And then we do have silver and gray here, for the grill of the truck as well as the bumper. Overall, I would say that the vehicle mode is passable, right? If you're purchasing this for a kid, it would definitely be something they would have fun playing with. But again, it's a bit of a hassle to get it into truck mode, at least correctly, and have everything locked together. Even now, I'm still not 100% that it's all entirely locked together, since we do have a slight gap here. But all the pieces back here appear to be locked into place. This figure itself, again, I think the strength is the robot mode. So if you're going to purchase this, I would do it for the robot mode. If you're a collector, that is. If you're purchasing this for a kid, obviously they could have fun with either. But I think the strength is definitely the robot mode with all of that articulation, and then the posability that you can get out of it because of that. So overall, really impressed with this figure. Again, at least in the robot mode. For it being such a small figure. And again, it reminds me very much of a much better Optimus Prime figure here, the animated Optimus Prime. But overall, I think it's well worth the money. If you find this figure, I would highly recommend purchasing it. I preferred this one over the larger one, because the larger one that I saw, I'm sorry, I don't really fully know all the size classes, but the larger one I saw that has the gimmick of being able to twist, it didn't, despite the fact that it was much larger and a lot more expensive, it looked like there was like hollow pieces on it, which doesn't seem like that should be a thing. I do think there is an Autobot symbol though on that figure, so that does, that is a slight improvement over this one. But if you've got any extra, sticker sheets laying around, maybe you can get an Autobot symbol and slap it on the arm on this one. I think that's what I'm going to do, or at the very least, you can buy like, reproduction labels or something and put it on here. But I think adding an Autobot symbol to this figure in robot mode would make it just that much better. So again, highly recommend the figure. Track it down if you can. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe to my channel.